This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we find ourselves in a big valley. We're going to be surrounded by mountains and towns and huts and everything you can imagine. But we're also going to be surrounded and trying to get rid of snakes because they can poison us and we will lose points because of it. Today we're taking a look at Penny Paper's Adventures The Valley. And I won't even try to say the name because I will butcher the rest of it. This is a series of games that are coming out all three at the same time. So I'm reviewing all three of these at the same time. They are lighter roll and write style games. This one is the one that's the most difficult of the three and the highest age range of ages 9 and up. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. The game comes with a pad of sheets that are all color, they're double-sided, and it comes with 3 special dice. Now this game can be played with, when you buy the game, up to 100 people at a time. Because there's 100 sheets, you can actually buy more pads of paper, and it's literally infinite as to how many players you can play with this simultaneously, because one player is going to roll the dice, and everyone's going to have the same choices based on those dice. No one gets any advantage or goes first or anything like that. So I'm going to show you how this works and how you put things in here, but first let me show you how you score so you know what you're trying to do. Now you can score in this game 9 different ways. So we're going to go over how all these work. So one way is by the jungle, by this forest here. This is going to give you 5 points for each jungle you have, which is going to have any 5 adjacent numbers that are not equal. Now adjacent in this game is anywhere surrounding, including diagonal. And you'll see you draw this little squiggly cloud around it. And we can see one here. There's 5 adjacent, again even diagonal counts, of different numbers. And that's happened a few times, so you get 5 points for each of those. 3 different times that happen, they get 15 points. The next are towns. You get 6 points for each of these, and for every 4 adjacent numbers that are equal, you'll get 6 points for that. And so here they drew this. This is the blue ones. We see this. There's 3s. We have 1s. Remember, adjacent can also be diagonal. And we have 4s. So 3 times that, 3 times 6 is 18. The next one is the mountain range. You'll get 7 for those. You have 3 adjacent ones that are number 6 or more. And you just draw a mountain around it. So we have 6, 6, 6, and we have 7, 6, and 9. They're all at least 6. So you have 2 mountain ranges there. So you got 2 of those for a total of 7 times 2 is 14 points. And the last are pyramids. Now it doesn't matter which way the pyramid is facing, but if you have 3 of them that are in a pyramid block and all of them are 10 or more, like this one, this is a sort of a sideways pyramid, you get one of those, that's 15 points. Now the other way you can earn points is by having huts. In this case, huts are going to be worth 2 points for every jungle space it's next to. Here we have a hut drawn, and it's next to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's surrounded by 5 jungle spaces, so 5 times 2 is 10 points. Statues, they want to be next to towns. And towns are those ones that have the same numbers. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 2 is 10 points, because that statue is next to 5 town spaces. And mines. Mines want to be near the mountains, of course. And so here we have the mine here. It's only next to these 2 mountain ranges, so it's 2 times 2, so 4 points there. And the next one are the snakes. Now, you can get negative points for snakes for everyone that's not crossed out. And what happens is, I'll tell you how you get snakes on there later, but here we have a snake here, 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 and here. Now here it has a 9. That means if you put a 9 onto your board, if you have a snake on there, you can cross any one of them out. So this player had a snake, and they got a 9 at some point and was able to cross this out. Now anyone that's not crossed out is negative points equal to the highest adjacent number. So this one is a 6, this one's a minus 9. Of course it's a minus 6, minus 9, and a minus 13 for a total of minus 28. At this point you're going to add up all these and subtract that, and you'll have this here. And you're going to add that with that and get your final total score. However, if you are the first one to completely fill up your entire board, you'll also get 7 points. So there's a little bit of a race there as well. Now in this game, one player is going to roll a dice and everyone will have the same choices. You can take a single die, 1, 2, or 3. Or you can take any 2 dice added. 2 and 1 is 3, 3 and 2 is 5, or you can take all 3 added, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now in this game, you don't have to just select one choice. You can select up to 3 choices. You could take a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Or you could take a 2 and a 1. Or a 3 and a 2, or a 4. So you can select multiples of them. So the most you can select in one turn are 3 single dice, and you can never use a single dice in more than one combination when you're doing this. So let's say, just for the heck of it, we take a 4 and a 2, for example. Now the first one you draw has to be on the edge near the clouds somewhere. So let's say I start the 4 here, and then anywhere else, the next one has to be somewhere adjacent to this. And again, adjacent is surrounding. So let's just say I did 4 and 2. Now let's say the next roll looks like this. Oh, this is cool. I can take the 1, the 3, and the 4. Maybe I'll do the 4 like this. I'll do the 2 like this. And I'll do the 1 like this because they're all adjacent to each other. I'm kind of working on some different things here. I'm working on the jungle here by trying to get a bunch of different ones. I only need basically 1 more of those. And I'm also working on 2 other towns there. So let's say the next roll is 4, 4, 5. Let's say I take a 4 and a 4, and I put the 5 down here. And now I actually have 1 of the towns. So I could actually draw that like that and like that. So I have my first town there. And let's say the next roll, I want to take the 3 and the 4. Well, let's just say I do this. And now we've created a jungle. I have 5 different numbers that are different from each other. So I can kind of do that. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, and they're all different. And that's sort of how you start to build those. Now let's say this is rolled. This is the Dakota Smith. It's green, so it's going to match these green things over here. And you can draw any one of these, but you can only do one of these once each game. So let's say I want to draw a hut. I would put this little bubble here to let me know I've done it, and I would draw this hut in any of the space that's adjacent to any of the numbers. So let's say I draw this hut right here. Now what this is going to do is it's adjacent to this specific jungle, and I might want to make another jungle that goes down here, another one out here, another one out here to kind of surround it as much as I can. Now let's say a snake is rolled. When this happens, you ignore all the other dice. You take your paper. Now everyone would normally have their initials written up here. They would put it in the middle of the table, randomize it, and everyone would grab one. You would then draw a snake on that player's sheet anywhere you want. So let's say this player does it like this, draws a snake like this, and then you hand it back to that player. We found this quite cumbersome, and we found it a lot easier to just pass it to the left or to the right throughout the game. Now when this is rolled, this is penny papers. You can draw a number between 1 and 15 in addition to anything else you want to do with these other numbers. So, I mean, I could now write a 9 here, which would now allow me to, and I could have written this anywhere adjacent to these numbers, anywhere on the board, and then I could have crossed this out, which is great because now this is going to be equal to the highest number near here. So I might want to try to put large numbers around here throughout the game. That's pretty much how the game's played. Now I told you they're double-sided, but it's not the same thing. On the other side, it's basically a different game. It's a lot harder because there's water that you can't put things in, so it changes the game like that. And again, whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. All right, well, there is the Valley. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there's 3 of these penny papers all coming out at the same time. And below me, since I'm putting all these out on the same day, the reviews of all 3. And so below me in the description of this video, if you want to see the other 2 reviews, the full reviews, I'll put those there. I'll also put a link for my Allegro quick 2-minute style video where I actually compare and contrast these 3 against each other. And so now let's get on to just the Valley here. So first of all, I like that the game comes with these big dice. They're easy to read, they're easy to throw, and that's important because this game can play many players, as many as you want. And so you're gonna have a lot of people sometimes around a table, and it's good to have those big dice in there for it. Now this is a pretty thinky roll and write game. I would say the best game I could probably think of that it's closest to sort of in weight and things that happen is a game called Dice Stars. I know it's probably not the most popular one, but it has come out in the last few years. It's designed by Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Malblanc, and so that's one of my actually favorite roll and writes. But it's that level of complexity where it's not mind-blowing rules, but there's a lot of open choices that you can make in this game. And that's the thing with all these penny papers is just because the age range gets higher doesn't mean that there's more rules. I mean, there are, but there's just slightly more. It really just opens it up and gives you more choices. So one of the things I like about this is, again, I mentioned it before, is that you can play this with up to 100 people simultaneously in the box, and you can even buy more pads of paper to do that and have a huge group at a big convention or something like that. That'd be a fun event to run for sure. I like the special dice faces. You have the sort of the green Dakota Smith that brings out all the different things like the huts and the statues and the mines. You have penny papers that brings up, you know, 1 to 15 anywhere. Then you have those snakes that are a pain in the butt. And speaking of those snakes, I like that those snakes can get you a very large amount of negative points there because they're going to give you the minus points for the biggest number that's around it. But if you can place a 9, anytime throughout the game, you can cross out any snake you want, and that's really cool too, because it gives you something else to think about. And this game already has a ton to think about, but this one has, you know, even more to think about trying to cross out those snakes as well, because that can win or lose you the game, because they can be huge points there. I like the flexibility on the dice choices here, and I kind of mentioned earlier how the game isn't that much more complex than the others, but there's just a lot more choices. Same, and this is big with the dice choosing, because in the other games you got to pick just one number to roll to write down. But in this one you could have up to 3. You could take all 3 dice and use them as single numbers, or 2 of them, or whatever. So you have a lot more choices in this game. I like that the pyramids are worth more points, but they take more turns to do. Same with the mines themselves, the mountains. Yeah, they get you more points, but it's gonna be taking you longer to do that. I like that there's a race associated with the end of the game. I think it's 7 points that you'll get if you're the first one to end the game. So you have this balance of whether you're trying to like really maneuver and get things around, or you're really trying to rush to the end to get that as well. I like that those structures that Dakota Smith puts out really does add another layer of spatial depth, where you're trying to line things up, and you're trying to get like a lot of the same things around, like the hut, for example, and you're trying to put a bunch of the things that score points right around there and make the hut sort of the intersection of all those. So it just kind of forms a strategy for you as to how you're going to lay things out throughout the game. And I like the double-sided sheets because they're different. The other side's a lot harder. It has the water there, as you saw. It gives you an even harder challenge, and I like that. The solo game works well. I've played it a few times solo on both sides, and it works well. Now you're just going to basically be riding a snake next to an adjacent number instead of someone else riding it, so it's a little bit easier, but it's not too different really. So I think the solo game translates well. Anything negative about this? Well, the game is very spatial, so it might be too spatial for some. I'm not huge on spatial games, but I really liked the amount of choices this game got. I mean, it's heavier than definitely a Quicks or something like that. But it's not like super heavy. So I think any gamers would call this a quote-unquote filler game with a lot of good choices. And I think this is a really good one that most gamers are going to really like. And for that reason, and because you can play this with tons of people at once, I think that's a really unique thing here for a game of this level. Because of that, I'm going to be adding it to my gaming library. So let's give it a saxophone serenade.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.